So the topic is the Indie Filmmaker's Guide for Building Audiences Online. And the reason they have me here talking about this is because I was just a guy in a bedroom with no online audience, no contacts, no MySpace friends, but I was able to build a community around my film and then sell everything I wanted to, my DVDs, whatever, to my community, which has funded my new film. So something I guess is kind of hard on the internet these days because there's so much competition and so much out there. So I'm just going to share with you. I'm not trying to create a new system of doing things because as I will say, it depends on you and the material you're creating and the audience you're going for or you will discover. So I'm just going to share with you my experience and maybe hopefully you'll be able to take something from it and apply it to your own. So at the beginning, in 2004, like I said, I had no online audience, no presence. I was on no social networking site, nowhere. And I started making this animated feature film just in obscurity because I wanted to. And the first thing I did, the first step I made to attempt to maybe reach out to someone was writing a blog, just a free Google Blogger blog. But before I get more in depth, I'll just show you the type of material I was creating. So here's just some little clips from the film that I actually made and built the audience around. Oops. Did I do that? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh no. Okay. Sorry. Now, after watching that, obviously there was no audience for this because no one had done something like this before. I hadn't seen it. So, you know, a lot of times, like in the mainstream film industry, they create things for they're what they call pre-sold franchises. That's why you see so many remakes and sequels and things that are spin-offs of other things is because they say, oh, there's already this audience we can tap into. They're there waiting for us. Now, which most of you are probably just individuals making stuff, so you can't legally make Shrek 5 or Titanic 7, The Revenge of the whatever. I don't know, who would get Revenge in Titanic? The iceberg was like maybe the ship or something. A ship with nuclear missiles, and Michael Bay would produce it, you know. But since we can't do that, we have to create original content. And when you create original content, there's no audience for your material. So out of the gate, it's very hard. It's cold. There's no one there. So I guess maybe what I want to share with you is that I kind of did it the hard way because there was no audience for my material, and I was able to make one. And I'm kind of going to jump around. I'm just going to introduce some concepts that kind of made sense to me. So you hear about like cult films. So I don't really know what that means. You know, like what, cult film? So I just kind of interpret it as build a cult around your film. Because cults are willing to give you, you know, people that join cults are willing to give their blood, their money, their firstborn, you know, whatever, to the cult leader, filmmaker, director. I don't know, is there any directors in here? Anybody doing directing? Okay. Now you must admit that you're a control freak. You are, if you want to direct, you're a control freak. So the cult leader is the ultimate control freak. So I'm going to share with you and help you become the best cult leader that you can become, as it pertains to filmmaking and building audiences, of course. Okay, so this is just something. I'm going to jump around. I'm just going to share some stuff. So first thing, the first thing I did was go on YouTube, which I'll go more in depth, you know, into how I did that. But so I had this YouTube audience, maybe a couple thousand people watching my stuff. And I needed actually extras for my film. So in a normal means, you would go and cast extras in your town or go to find some, official person to cast for you, whatever. But I look at the mainstream film business, and to me, it's very closed to the audience. They cannot participate, they cannot interact. It's very closed, so I said, well, if I need to be different, if I need to differentiate myself from the mainstream in creating this new material, I need to do the opposite of what they're doing. So then I need to be open. So one of the first things I did was, which is, I guess, I didn't know what it was at the time, but it was coined, the term that's been coined is crowdsourcing, and that's actually utilizing your audience to do work for you or to be a part of your work. So this is one of the things I did. I started a promotion. I just made a video that said, hey, do you want to be an extra in this film? And one of the things, too, that I've learned is that I didn't bog them down in details. I didn't say, send me an image of this resolution with this setup. I just said, send me an image. Because when, the audiences I'm dealing with online, they're very jaded and they're very picky. And I'm kind of one of them, so I understand. So if a guy asked me for a photo, I was like, okay. And then he's like, 300 DPI. I'd be like, fuck you. So you just have to kind of be aware that the people are very, what's the word for it? I don't know. Just jaded is the only thing that comes to it. So I'm going to talk a lot about cult terminology in this presentation for some reason because it's entertaining to me. But you need to offer them sacrifices, which has something to do with pagan gods or cults somewhere. I don't know. But so this was one of the things I offered them. You can be in this film, right? So in a matter of a week, maybe, I got about 600 or 700 photos from people, random. Most of them were just, taken in their shower with their webcam or something. Do you want to see some of those? I didn't save them. I'm a decent individual in public. So I got all these photos, and then I just photoshopped them, and then my audience was in my film. So something like this serves two purposes. You get work done, and it is the beginning of the building of your word-of-mouth army, which I'll get into later, because there's this Hungarian playwright named Lajos Egri who wrote this book called The Art of Dramatic Writing, which if you're into writing, I highly recommend. But he talks about this principle called the importance of being important. And if you look at all these social networks, MySpace, Facebook, all these things, it's like, look at me. Look how cool I am. Everyone wants it to be about them. Like in America, everyone wants to be famous. So I've kind of played into that. And it's like, it's not about me, it's about you. You're in my film, right? So then all these people went and posted in these places which I call the new P&A, which I'll get into later. So automatically all these people who were doing work for me posted on their blogs or MySpace things, told all their friends, check it out, I'm in this movie, look at the trailer, you should buy it, blah, blah, blah. And you can just see kind of the ripple effect that that has. So you have these people talking about your film, doing work for you before it's even done because they're in it. So what is the new P&A? So I didn't know anything about traditional film advertising or marketing or branding, or I didn't even know what P&A was until I got finished with this feature film and went to the Sundance Film Festival and went through the whole thing and had all the professional team with me. And then I learned that the old P&A is really just a bunch of bullshit. And it's used, prints and advertising. So these are budgets in which they will put your film or an artist in newspapers, magazines, television commercials. It's pretty much, I think I have it in here later, or that quote is from the guy who designed the paradigm of modern film marketing. And he said, if you have enough money, you can lie to all the people all of the time. So that's what P&A does. That's why, half of the budget of a film goes out to lie to you, to make you think it's something that it's not, to get you in the seat, to get the big opening weekend, blah, blah, blah. So the old P&A was about lies because the content was not unique. The personalities in it weren't anything you would want to see if you saw them at face value. Now, the new P&A and kind of the philosophy behind that is that this is something that I just made up. If you don't have any money, then you can't afford to lie to anyone because they'll hate you. And if they hate you, you have no audience. So it's kind of more about being honest and open. And there's these different places which I just that I utilized that I refer to as the new P&A. And it's all free, it's nothing you pay for, and it's all based on word of mouth, and again, no lies. So social networking sites, MySpace, Facebook, I'll go over them a little in depth, but well, you can read them there. So the first category. So these can be utilized, which I'll go into some more steps later to show you how I utilize them. But these are kind of the places that humans gather music. you can write about. So that's one place that you can have people advertising for you. Another is on blogs. I mean, everybody has a blog. I'm sure a lot of you people have a blog, and search for different terms, metadata, little spiders find you in your stuff. And it's another place that, I think the big difference is, it's kind of changing, but the mainstream media, when you see someone like on TV or on the radio, they don't seem real. At least they don't to me. You kind of know, I know, and I think audiences are getting more savvy to it, is that they're salesmen. They're pitching you stuff. It's not sincere. They don't really care about it. If someone wasn't paying them to talk about it, they wouldn't. So then that recommendation doesn't mean much to you or another person. But these places, now there's algorithms being developed, so there's like blogger bots like writing fake posts, but this is kind of what we have. But for the most part, they're real people who aren't being paid off. So other, your jaded internet audience see things like this, and it means a lot more than maybe a newspaper ad or something else, because to a lot of these new generations, new audiences, they know it's just a bunch of fodder. So other places are message boards. Your stuff can be shared there, posted around. You can start discussions. Whole communities can pop up around your film. So, and I think one of the things I've learned too, just on another note, is that you can't control how your film or how you are perceived online. So I could go on there and be like, oh, I want to be known for my 1950s values and my blah, blah, blah. But people would be like, check this guy out, he's a fucking weirdo, he's on methamphetamines. This movie's crazy. So instead of fighting it, you kind of just have to go with stuff. So, years and years, like the name I go by now, M.Strange, this is like my third online personality. The other two failed because I tried to push myself, this is who I am on the internet. I didn't just go out there and then listen to the internet and see, who do they think I am? Because it's a lot easier going out like that. So I'm going to go off on a tangent, talk about aliases real quick though. So does anyone here have a pseudonym or an alias that they go by? Okay. So, 2. All right. So this is my theory on it. So I'm going to tell everyone to go out and create an alias and start using it for their film work. Now, why? Because, when you're born, you're given a name, right? Your family names you. You don't get to pick it unless you're some psychic baby. It's reincarnated of some whatever. But if you weren't, you didn't get to pick your name or your identity. And as you're growing up, art is a tough thing, or film, because you need to define yourself and share your experience with people. So as you're growing up, you're given this name, you're given this identity. And as time goes on, there's all this stigma and all this baggage that's associated with your real name, your real person, right? And it's kind of tough. And I think film is kind of a crazy, risky, dangerous thing where you kind of have to go out there, and put yourself on the line. So if you have this old personality that kind of feels like, oh, your uncle's telling you you're this and your ex-girlfriend's telling you you're that, you kind of get tough, right? But if you create a new name, it's the person, you define who you are. You get to start with a clean slate, and, right? So when I look at my real name, Michael, I'm like, that guy's totally lame. He can't do anything, But M.Strange, like, oh, So M.Strange would be, is the guy that's acting like the pretentious whatever he is now. But if I was my real self, I'd be sitting in the chair playing Game Boy still. So, it's change over. So I recommend you all go out and create a new name that can do the things that you feel you can't do. Because we all have different fears and limitations we put on ourselves. So create this new person and they have nothing. They can do anything. That's just my little tangent. So another thing you can do and utilize with sites like YouTube are kind of encouraging your audience to do like mashups of your work. Or for specifically what I do animation, so they're called AMVs, or anime music videos. So just something I did that doesn't cost anything. I'm sure a lot of you edit your own material. And you have clips and bins and stuff that maybe you're bored with, but put it on the internet. So what I did when my film was done, I took about 40 or 50 clips from the film, and just put them online and gave them to my audience. And then they went and created all these remixes and different versions, which I'll show you, and I'll tell you why this is good too, even though it's not so legal. So here's just an example of one of those AMVs that one of my audience members from YouTube took and then put his favorite music on it and whatever, so you can just see it. So the good thing about those is that it's kind of like, from watching those and seeing those, you see the music that your audience listens to. So you kind of know a little bit more about them. And any popularity that those groups have, their fans of those groups will find the stuff, and then what is this movie this is from? So it's kind of like, you know, it's something I guess isn't too legal or whatever, but the internet is not very legal. So something else that's kind of specific to, I guess, the online universe is that there's sites like DeviantArt and these different art sites that a lot of people have, or, you know, they post their artwork and stuff. So also helps. Did I ask for it? No, people just did it. But this is just something that you can't buy. Like, you know, a traditional media company would have to pay people to create stuff like this, and then they'll pretend that it's made, like sincerely made, whatever. But people know this, so they see stuff like that, some 15-year-old making it, and they're going to be like, hey, what's that film? And, you know, it has some validity. That's kind of what you're looking for, because I think when you go online, people are just like, who's this jerk off? You know? Like, oh, they probably just want my money, or oh, it's this. And because especially on YouTube or like these new sites, there's so many, like, being real is kind of like this commodity. Like, I'm a real person, so you can take my recommendation. So, you know, like the big advertising companies are getting savvy to it, so it's kind of, you need to walk carefully to make sure and let people know that you're just a person, which is something I think in filmmaking, which is kind of weird, because a lot of times we feel we need to puff ourselves up and make ourselves seem like we're a big studio or this big organization, maybe even if we're just one person or something. But I think in the end, that works against us. When you're in these meetings and networking, maybe it helps you if you say, I'm a production company, I'm doing these things. But when you go online, I think it works against you. So just be aware of that, that these audiences don't really care who made the stuff, where it came from, how big you are, who you're associated with. It's just about the content, which I think is refreshing because it doesn't matter how you make this stuff. Another type of the new P&A are actually video testimonials from people that enjoy your work. And I think these are kind of like the new commercials because it's video and it's real people talking about how they're into your stuff. And I'll show you a couple that people have made about my stuff, and you'll think they're phony and that I paid them to. But this is the power of like word of mouth marketing and what you can do with these new tools when people go online and see that you're a real filmmaker making this film, spending your time and money. They make a connection with you, you know? So this is kind of just a couple examples you can see. That's like my t-shirt.
Matt. That's from Strange. That's that guy right there. Oh, wow. That guy. And this is too. Got that. And the long-awaited We Are the Strange movie from Strange. And then it's got that M guy and 3 M's when he look at that. Look at it with all its strange goodness. Oh wow. Thanks,
I didn't pay him, that's real. I know it's
best movie ever!
They put some work into some of these too. That's a good marketing campaign, right? It didn't cost anything. It's just from putting yourself out there. And also, I mean, I have this last, you know, so I put this last. So in the old media, this was at the top. Magazines, television, newspapers, blah, blah, blah. It's nice if you can get it, but if you have any experience in the way like the system works, I mean, I was shocked. I was like this naive filmmaker. It's like, oh, if I make the coolest, different, most innovative stuff, I will get press and people will like it and people will seek it out. But no, it's like there's a very crude saying in Los Angeles about the movie business, and it's not, you know, it's who you know or who you blow. And that's really true. And I mean, I've learned that like the major press I got, I won't name names as to what publications, it didn't have anything to do really with what I did. It was going and having drinks with the people and talking to them and having them accept you. Okay, we'll give you press because I like you. Which, I mean, okay, I'm not going to complain that I got it, but I don't think that's the way it should be. So this is the system that's been around forever and has locked out regular people, so I'm just kind of, you know, want to move in new directions. And I mean, one of the things that's still very common that I use, that I was lucky enough, are film festivals, and it's something that, you know, a lot of filmmakers are still interested in. And because I used to be, you might be too, but I used to think that a film festival had the authority to tell me if my film was good or not, or worthy or not. You know, I started entering film festivals a long time ago, and I got rejected to a bunch of them, and it made me feel horrible. I felt like my film was worthless, you know, that they were like this gatekeeper of like, and I mean, it's looked at now like probably Cannes out here, like Sundance. It's like, if you get in there, it's like this stamp that like you're special, and if you don't, you know, you're kind of worthless. At least that's how I thought. So I have this at the end because it is good if you can get in one of the major film festivals. And the way to use them, I say, you know, because you look at all these film festival books and it's like, enter 100 film festivals and send a tape all the time. No. The ones that are only worth it are the big ones. And you can look, I mean, there's probably 5 or 6 in the world, like Sundance and Toronto and Cannes and maybe Berlin. Just enter. Don't spend all your money and all your time entering film festivals and trying to schmooze and do that. Go for the big ones because they will give you good press, which can help you build an audience later. But again, it might not be the audience you were looking for, which I'll show you an example. So yeah, if you don't get in, screw them because they're losers. And then start online and start building your audience, because I don't know what kind of work you're doing, but for me, my audience was not in the big film festivals. It was not in the mainstream, but it was off in these strange places that I was only able to connect with online. So let's just look for an example. The Sundance Film Festival, right? You think as a filmmaker, yo, you get in there. My audience should be there, right? I'm just some guy making weird independent films, and they let me in, so they should have a good idea of who's there, right? So got in there, and my audience was not there. I'll show you some of the audience. I don't know if you saw my presentation last night. I showed a little bit of that. But so what happened was, went to the Sundance Film Festival. Every screening, in the first 5 minutes, more than half the audience walked out and asked for their money back because it was something so disconnected and different from what they were used to. My audience was already online. I knew that. And this kind of just, it made a lot of sense to me when I saw this, and that's why I'm pursuing these new avenues. But so one of my friends who was there said, hey, why don't we, because this is, you need to be quick like this and savvy and like use potential setbacks against you. So this would be a negative, right? If people walked out of your film and asked for their money back, what would you do? Like my assistant director guy was like, oh, you know, and left. But, you know, you have to weather the storm and realize if the old audience and the old media doesn't accept you, it's not your end, because there's new audiences and new things waiting to be tapped that you can create. So what we did is that we pretended that we were making a documentary on the worst films ever made. So as people walked out of the theater, we were like, hey, we're making this documentary about the worst movies ever made. Do you want to say something about this film? Because we heard it's horrible, right? Because people online, like younger people, were posting on YouTube about how much they liked it. So then really fast, while I was at Sundance, I created this propaganda video which pitted them against each other and hopefully further alienated people from disliking the film because they didn't want to, you know, have themselves perceived like the people here that I edited and made them just seem like they're confused with life. So here's an example.
It said important graphics, 800 classical music. I just have better things to do.
Don't appeal to me.
Okay. Could you be more specific?
No, there's no point to any of it.
Whatever, it's like, shut up. There's nothing to it.
The whole movie was like subtext, like there was barely any dialogue at all. It was all tough. The whole story was told with the image. That was
There's no point to any of it.
like I guess that turned off some people because
yeah, just they don't like Hanky.
Yeah, so
I just want to watch a movie where everything's explained to me.
Like, really could watch tennis.
The gamers were like, holy crap, is that what I think it is? And then like the skiing people were like,
It's artistic, but, you know,
Well, I don't know. I suppose if you spent your whole life playing video games, maybe it would have a different meaning for you. But
Okay. You're not an avid video game player?
So through that, I really was able to see this disconnect, and that the audience that was there and that the mainstream system was trying to offer me wasn't the audience for my film. So then what do I do, right? Am I done? Now, before before the internet and these new tools, it would have been over. No one would ever have seen my film ever. And it kind of saddened me because I just thought about like how many films were there that didn't fit, that just were thrown in a box because there was no venue for them, like the internet, right? So as filmmakers of today, what I go out and try to tell everyone is that, because there's a lot of resistance, I think, because I tell everyone, go create a YouTube account. Start documenting what you're doing. Like, I'll show you some of the stuff I do. And they're like, well, I just want to make films. I don't really want to have to promote it. And it's kind of like just a matter of desire. It's like, how bad do you want to make a film? And how bad do you want to be successful? And if you really do have that desire and that passion, you're willing to like forego, like, or just kind of ignore feeling uncomfortable for a little bit. Because I mean, I didn't like it. You turn a webcam on and like, yeah, hi. It's weird, but once you start, this is something else that you could not get before that you can get now. You post a video, whatever, about what you're doing or a trailer for your work. And then it has no tangible value, but just having strangers across the world saying, hey, that's awesome, I love that, I love this thing. It's something that you can't put on paper, that number crunchers can't, quantify, but it's important, like motivation. And kind of what I tell people that I think is, really true, like that's the most important thing, is to be motivated and inspired. Because if you don't have that, then everything's going to be a struggle and you're going to need a lot of money to get stuff done. So it's one of these things that does not fit. I'm sure they don't teach you that in film school. I didn't go to film school, but I don't know if they have how to be inspired classes. But it's something that's kind of turning around, like if you like big advertising firms and use like creativity coaches now, just to try to keep people inspired. So something you can do for free, having an audience and people from all over the world giving you good feedback. So now you're probably saying, yeah, that's great, but how do I do that, right? How do I get in touch with the amorphic mass that is the internet hate machine and, have them not hate you so much? Now again, this is just what I've done. I'm trying to like create some kind of plan, but like I'll say later, it's different for everyone in everyone's film. We all have different audiences depending on what you're creating. So there's going to be different ways that you're going to have to try to reach out to them. So I'm just going to try to tell you what I did. And a lot of this stuff was alien to me. Like, my favorite directors are like David Lynch and Stanley Kubrick, and I don't see David Lynch reading a book on branding. But I had to. So I'll just say, what you have to do, like when you get in a film festival, like in a major film festival, you go with a publicist, a sales rep. A publicist is someone who goes out and tries to get you press and writes your press releases and tries to make you sound like you're something. Usually you're not, but whatever, I'll go into that a little bit later if you have any questions about that. And then a sales rep who is kind of your salesman who talks to acquisition acquisition reps to sell your film to the studios. And of course you have a lawyer, but I haven't learned how to do that myself, so I still have a lawyer. But publicist and sales rep, these are things I don't think you need anymore. So study marketing, branding, advertising. Learn how the big system works. And then what I did, I looked at the big system and I said, this works, this does not work. I'm going to do this, they do that. You just it's a new kind of, it may seem daunting because it's like, oh, I don't want to have to do all that, right? I just want to direct, or I just want to write or produce. But if you look at it on the flip side, it's giving you more power, and there's less people you're going to have to depend on. If you have something to do on a Friday, you know, that you need to be done by Monday, write a press release or get this interview, would you want to wait around or hire someone to do it for you, or would you rather just go and learn and do the research and do it yourself? So I guess I'm part of the DIY thing, so I'm just like, you know, filmmakers never before had the internet, which is the largest library and, like, you know, this huge resource. If you know where to look, you can learn anything. So you don't have to pay for this stuff. It'll make you a better director too, studying acting and performing, or just being able to, because the new thing, what all this stuff is about is communication. It's just you're able to communicate with your audience now that no one was ever to do before. You know, no one can do that. So take advantage of it. You can make these one-on-one connections so that people make commercials for you. So why wouldn't you want to? So I'll just show you a commercial that I made that I just put up online and for Christmas that my audience then took and posted everywhere and like try to get people to sell. So
This Christmas, give the gift of strange to someone you love or hate. Make their heads explode with joy or excruciating pain. Either way, they'll never forget you or the gift you gave them this Christmas, because it was the weirdest, most like what the thing they've ever seen. But we have the Strange 2 DVD set for only $19.99. The perfect gift for friends, loved ones, or mortal enemies. Just go to wearethestrange.com or a store near you and stay strange.
So you'll probably notice I have to do the voices for my own commercials. So last night at the dinner, I was talking to this guy who grew up in the circus, and like he was a carny, right? And I think that's kind of a lost art, and I think to do this stuff, you have to channel your inner carny. So you have to be able, because I had a friend, I was at a street fair selling my DVDs, and she's like, artists aren't supposed to be able to define their stuff and sell it. And I'm like, well, maybe yesterday, but of today, you need to, because no one's going to do it for you. So if you want to make it happen, I mean, again, it may seem daunting, but I just look at it as fun. It's like, oh, commercial, it's another production. It's more practice. It makes you better for what you're doing. And about selling, because I've seen this a lot. Like, I have this thing where I tell people I do the salesman smile to let them know that I'm trying to sell them stuff. And I just say, because there's a lot of times, like, I don't know, I have a pretty good, like, sensor when I can tell people are fake, and if they're not sincere and they're just trying to sell me something. And I think maybe the internet, whatever it is really good at doing that too, so they just turn off or go away. And because I've been talking to a lot of filmmakers around here, and they just finished their film, their feature, and they're too worried about making money already. And if you start pushing that on your audience, you're going to push them away. And if you don't have an audience, you really have nothing. So just be very aware of how hard you're trying to sell your stuff or go out there. And what I've done, I made no mention. I never asked for any money. I never, my DVD was done. I said it's available here. I didn't say go buy it. I didn't say tell your friends to go buy it. It's kind of like more of a pull thing now. It's like RSS feeds. Like people subscribe to feeds and they want to, they want to get what they want to get when they want it. So it's the same thing with these types of sales. Don't push it on them. Let them choose, because it's so much more effective and powerful when they make the choice to buy it. And buy 10 of them. Buy it for their friends. So it's just something that I've been very aware of, and it's been very successful for me. So when I put my DVD on sale, which wasn't a big deal, I wasn't like, limited time only, this big thing. It was like, oh, it's on sale now if you want to get it. And I sold 500 in the first day, which paid for making the DVDs itself. So then it was just all profit after that. So a lot of this stuff, like, it may not make sense on paper because a lot of it is based on faith. And, it's just like religion. I don't know. Faith isn't really in business. I don't know. I never took any business classes, stuff I've studied, but I don't think maybe faith is a factor. But it's kind of, but the way I look at it, like, it's risky. It's a risky business, filmmaking, right? You take all your time, all your money, all your energy, and put it into this thing, hoping that you're going to get something back. And you may not, or you may get something huge, but it kind of plays into that. So if you don't want to take risks, you shouldn't be making films. You can just go work a regular job, and yeah, you can make a regular paycheck, and everything's fine. But if you're into films, it may be because your inner risk taker wants to do something different or crazy, or you've always had this idea that you wanted to realize. And, today you can do it. So let's go over some audience building guidelines. This is what I did. And I think gaining a new audience member is worth more than gaining $1. Because a lot of times, like I talked to people, I was talking to a guy yesterday, and he's like, oh, I'm going to put up half of my film for free and then make them buy the other half. And I was like, you know, I don't think the internet audience is going to go for that. You're going to alienate people. It's like giving them half and then now pay. So I would from a technique like that, you're going to lose an audience. He may make, you know, I told him, do you want 1 million views or do you want 50 sales? To me, getting the 1 million views is worth more than having, you know, however much money that is, because your audience is power. And your audience, I say build audience now, make money later. Because having the audience will give you so much more flexibility later on. And it's kind of like, again, a faith thing. When I started out getting these inquiries or emails or messages, I answered all of them. I took time, like an hour every day, just to interact. Because I figure the 45 seconds I spend to answer this email might win me a fan forever. That's going to just multiply because they're going to tell, you know, their friends and tell people. And, you know, a lot of times, like I said, we want to puff ourselves up and seem big. But I think one of the things that's cool about the internet is like discoverability, where people take pride in discovering something no one else really knows about. And if you're not, you know, you don't have the P&A system behind you, you're one of those people. So they'll want to go tell people and, you know, share and spread. So it's kind of something I've benefited from. And when you have your audience, I'm not just saying, I'm not one of those people always think when I speak that I'm all like, rah, 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 like fuck the system or whatever. The system's fine. You know, they do what they do. It's just something I choose not to participate in, but by building an audience, you will have the option. If you want to go totally on your own route like I have, and you also have leverage to work with distributors and other people because you have this audience. Because you have to understand, before the internet, before all these new tools, your distributor was your gateway to your audience. They gave you access to an audience, but now you can create and get your own audience. So that's why everything's so, like, you know, people are freaking out, because you now, the filmmaker, can just go directly to your audience. And the distributor wants to be like, no, 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 you have to come to us. It's kind of like when I had a publicist, this writer from the New York Times contacted me, and he's really nice, and I was like, oh yeah, we should meet tomorrow. And then my publicist came, no, 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 you can't talk to him. I have to talk to him. So then I gave him his email address, and the publicist said, oh, you're meeting him tomorrow. And I'm like, couldn't I have just done that? You know, like in my head, I'm like, what is a publicist for? And then I learned a bit more about that, and it's kind of part of the old system. Like if you have nothing interesting to say, or if you're just like, I hate everyone, you know, in an interview, the publicist is like, no, no, he didn't say that. That's off the record. Or ask him about his cats, because they're really interesting. So if you're just like a cardboard fake person, like I think most celebrities are, do you need a publicist to make you seem like you're something that you're not? But if you've had success doing it the way I do online, if you're a cardboard person, you have nothing to say, you're going to fail. So if you have these people watching and you're getting this audience, you automatically have something. So the press will appreciate that. Like the guy from the New York Times did an interview with like this major A-list celebrity. He was telling me how boring it always is because they just have nothing to say or whatever. So he appreciated that I was a real person. So take advantage of you being an opinionated real person. It's free. Although, yeah, it's free. Is it free in this country? I've only been here for a week. I don't know. So here's my audience building do's. I say entertain, educate, bewilder. I'll show you a little bit more about the entertainment. We'll come to that, where whatever you know, there may be someone else in the world that you can get in touch with on the internet that may not know that. I mean, being empowered or teaching someone something means a lot, and people appreciate that. So if you know how to sew really well, or like fix a whatever, or has anything to build a blood pump for special effects, share it online. It doesn't cost you anything but time. And you know, usually when you're teaching, you learn too. So it's kind of a... And give your audience something new. Just realize that everyone's seen everything 1,000,000 times. So don't try to create something you've already seen out there, because they will pass you by, like that stuff. So I look at it like, if you're a filmmaker, an artist, especially in this age, your strength should be your creativity and your innovation. I put time aside every day, an hour a day, just to come up with new ideas. I just go sit at the cafe and come up with ideas that I can use for all this stuff. So again, I don't know if it's something that's not talked about much, but you should. channel your inner entertainer. You all have it in some way or another. Maybe I'm more subtle than others, more subtext than others, more with miming, I don't know. But you all have something to share with someone else. So share it. My thing, I don't know, again, I don't think that this has any place in business, but keeping your word. I'm kind of like, you know, with the internet, if you type anything, if someone's logging your chats with someone, 10 years in the future, they can go back and, no, you said this. So it's kind of like you have to realize anything you put online is there forever. And people will call you on it and turn against you. So try to maintain some type of online integrity. And again, this is something specific to YouTube, or like, be real, not reality show real, which I think like reality shows kind of distorted the public's perception of what a real person is. But learning stuff from my friends that are studying psychology, it's more like we're promoting histrionic personality disorder through the use of reality shows. Everyone's like, oh my God, ah! You know, so like those aren't real people. We don't have to do that. So when you go on there, be real. People can see through Lonely Girl 15 or all that stuff now, so it's easier too. Respect them as individuals and not a target demographic. I'm not, hello, 12 to 18-year-olds, you know? They're just people like us. So treat them like that. It's kind of like, it's just common sense, I guess. If you can, involve them in the process through the use of crowdsourcing and the things I talked about. And there's a million different things you can do. It's all there to be made up. Also, call the cops. I don't know, I just wanted to throw that slide in there because I'm self-indulgent, sorry. Okay, audience building guideline don'ts. Don't beg, panhandle, or complain about your situation. It may have been successful for some people, but I just don't see that as a way to go. Because it's kind of like people want to go with a winner, right? Not a loser, so. There's an easy way to gain an audience, and that's to play into mass media and celebrity culture. If you go on YouTube and start talking about celebrities or sports or politics, you'll get an audience, but you'll get an audience faster than you would if you were just being yourself or going with your content. But realize you're a dime a dozen. There's nothing that's going to make you stand out or different other than your hairstyle or your hat's crooked, but that's not enough of a novelty to keep people. So give them something different. Again, that's easy. It's easy. It's like a pre-sold franchise. They already know. But you're in it for the long run. It's like the long tail. You know, you have to look at it like that. You don't want the quick fix. So I try not to bore people with details they don't care about. They don't care about what video codec I used and its interlacing issues and blah, blah, blah. I just try to speak in, not layman's terms, but in a language I think my audience relates to. Well, I always act like someone I'm not, so I shouldn't have put that there. Don't ignore your audience's attempts to communicate with you, which is kind of an old media thing. Like, I'm too important to respond to this, right? Like, I guess if you're famous or something, you don't do that because you're too important to talk to this person. So you have to go the opposite way. You're there for them. Because like I said, I think the time you take, and I've kind of done some research, the time you take to send one email to one person, it echoes. They'll go post on this blog, oh, this filmmaker's the coolest person, because they're so used to being shut off and having everything closed. So if you're open, it's like a breath of fresh air to them. So I say I'm going to talk for 5 more minutes. Yeah, I'm a director. I decide. Right, she did. She's a producer. They give you money. So I say style is free. So go out there. Create your own style. Does that sound weird? No? Because sometimes, to me, it's just like, all right, yeah. If, to differentiate yourself, you need to create a different style or something different about yourself. And again, it's free. And I'll show you about style. I'll just show you. The world is just sitting there for you to just make up the rules. The world of filmmaking. Like, I do animation. And I said, I'm going to create a new style of animation for this movie. Right? Okay, I'm going to mix Eastern European puppet animation strangeness, 8-bit video games, and Japanese animation. It's just me sitting in the cafe writing ideas. Yeah, and I'll call it this really awkward word, strainime, right? So I came out, I made this video, show a little bit.
This is strainime. This is strainime. This is strainime. This is strainime. Strainime will be brought to the screen for the first time in color with the release of M. Strange's We Are the Strange. is a new process which utilizes new technical and scientific advances in electronics and color to open up vast new vistas in motion picture entertainment.
So I just made it up, right? And I went to Sundance, and like that lady, one of the ladies was all skeptical. I was like, yeah, and he's all pretentious. I made this new style of animation, blah, blah, blah. 5 months later, I was in Wired magazine, featured for my new style of animation that I invented. Just make it up. Like, the world is just waiting for you. People want something new. They're just waiting. So just don't be like, I can't think of it. Who am I? That's how everything new is made. Just make it up. The press, all these people are just waiting for you to do something new. So I say, create a new style, create your own niche, and the audience will find you. There's people hungry for different things on the internet and in the world. If you build it, they will come and buy stuff. And I'm just going to do a rush version because I probably have like 2 more minutes. So I look at the future of media as a battle for eyeballs, right? Online, views. You get paid for views now. You can get paid. People don't care where it came from, who made it, whatever. If it looks cool, if they're interested, they'll watch it. So just think of it like that. Doesn't matter if you're a dude like me in a closet with a bunch of computers or if you're some fancy production company. No one cares, just a battle for eyeballs. Don't play the game by the old media system's rules. Make up your own rules. It's there to be done. That's what the internet's for. And as long as you play by their rules, you'll be limited and controlled by them. The way I look at it is like the big media system is like a big truck driving down the street that has to pay all of its permits and stop at every stop sign, where you can be a bicycle and speed through stop signs and go around. So don't act like you're a big truck, you know? Cut corners. You don't have to do everything as legal as they do, so kind of look at it like that. Whoa, I have too much stuff. Okay, I wonder if I can do this in 1 minute. My strategy to keep viewers interested was to give them an inside look at the animation process. So I did these film school videos. I'm just trying to teach what I know, so here's just a little 10-second example. So I'm just teaching stuff I guess you would learn in animation school about how to do shots and stuff, and then I started doing 3D animation tutorials for free, you know, just teaching them what I know in 3D. And that's just part of giving back to your audience. I held contests to have them dress up like my characters and send them a free poster for a prize or something. You can also tap into related audience, like I said about AMVs. So there were some bands that I thought their audiences would be interested in my stuff, so I did music videos for the bands. These are just different groups. So the band's audiences got interested in my stuff, and I started building my WOMA. I'm not a 3D artist trying to build himself a girlfriend like most 3D modelers do. I'm trying to build a word-of-mouth army that you must offer a sacrifice, music, images, music. For Christmas, I gave him the torrent with some music from the film, behind-the-scenes images and exclusive content. Invite them into your project, crowdsource. Give them a platform. When people respond to my videos, I feature them or I favorite them so other people can watch them. I guess we'll have to skip this, but long story super short. In Sundance, I got one super horrible review where the guy gave it like -5 stars and said it was the worst film ever. He really hated me, right? But he put his email address and his name on his review. So then I went on YouTube and I was like, this guy doesn't really like my film for some reason. I don't know why. So then all these 15-year-olds are sending him porn spam mail and everything. So realize your audience is power. Build an audience and you have power. So yeah, I think I can take questions now. Thank you. Questions, comments? Yes.
I have a question about your audience, because I'm just wondering, can you alienate your audience as well? So what you do fits really well with who they are. Mm-hmm. And what about when you want to move creatively? Is that where the alias comes in? You can move creatively to a different genre?
Okay, so the question was, is it possible to alienate your own audience? And if you want to do something new, will that alienate your audience? It's kind of a give and take. Like now I'm making a new film, and I was going to go in a new direction that I was writing about in my blog, and some of my audience says, no, that's not what you're known for. You're known for this. So it's a decision you have to make, whether you want to bend, because it almost is like they're your producer now, maybe. Like I tell them I work for you. So you can you know, when you introduce yourself as this person, this kind of content, you have to kind of create stuff that's in the same direction where you can risk losing them, yes. But it's kind of a fine line. Like I look at the videos they watch and the music they listen to kind of make sure I'm still not veering off. So it is possible, so you need to be mindful of that, yeah.
One more question.
Sure.
These kind of presentations are online, so your audience can effectively see your presentations. Do you think that they might see sort of cynicism coming into it and how you can talk to them, communicate with them, and research them?
So do I think my audience will be cynical about me presenting about them? Yeah. No, they actually think it's cool. Like I posted online, like there's me at 4:05. So I've kind of built this relationship with them where they've seen I've been on there for 2 or 3 years now. They know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And like the first national press I ever got was because one of my YouTube fans contacted a Toronto-based television station and got me a TV interview. They kind of want to see me out there doing stuff. They want to see me successful. And if they can help doing it, I think it makes them happy. So, I mean, I'm not like, look at this demographic target. I'm like, I know that kid. His name's Freak Child. And like, I talk to him and, you know, comment on his videos. So I'm mindful of that, though. Yeah, I'm not going to be like, look at my audience. I'll have power over her. So it's just like, I'm just like one of them. I mean, I never got past being 12 years old in some level. So, you know, I know what it's like.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Sorry.